Hi, this is Chris Martenson of peakprosperity.com. It is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2014. I have an update for you. I've been following this catastrophe of the downing of the Malaysian MH17 airliner over eastern Ukraine, and I have to tell you that I have a lot of concerns as somebody who relies on data and evidence. Right now, we knew that this was going to be a propaganda war. We knew that there was going to be a lot of difficulty coming up with good evidence, solid, one way or the other, to figure out what happened. And that's proven to be true. But here's the interesting thing that I understand about this at this point in time. The United States government, my government, is going completely at this point in time with evidence that at best can be described as having been gleaned from social media sites. I have not yet seen a single piece of evidence released from a satellite, a reconnaissance photograph of any sort from the United States, any actual electronic intelligence that goes beyond what was allegedly posted by separatist leaders in the aftermath of the crash, where they claimed responsibility for the shootdown. Now, those recordings, it should be pointed out, particularly in this post-NSA world, everybody needs to understand that things can be posted to social media sites by parties who don't happen to be those individuals. It happens all the time. So you have to put a big sort of a nugget of a grain of suspicion around anything that was gleaned from a social media site, just as a starting point these days. And but particularly in the aftermath of what the United States did in the run-up to the Iraq War, where we had Colin Powell in front of the UN using what turned out to be completely manufactured evidence, and pretty good evidence too. Photographs, aerial reconnaissance, lab tests, all kinds of things that all turned out to be actually falsified. I believe that the bar is now very high. The United States, in this case, if they want to make a claim that it was separatists and that Putin was somehow responsible, and we're going to use that as a means for providing additional sanctions on Putin, I think not only is the bar very high in the first place for that, but it's actually even higher if your evidence in the past has been, shall we say, suspect, and that's being kind. On the other side, we've got some a mix of evidence that's pouring out. Russia is the only country that supplied real photographs that I can sink my teeth into. I can't confirm or deny if they're real, or there's a lot of forensics that would have to be applied. But I would trust that the world governments would be able to sink their teeth into it and look at them and either refute or accept the evidence that Russia has supplied, which shows a BUK missile battery in the hands of the Kiev junta near the place where the shootdown happened, and that it was operational and that it had been painting the sky with radar multiple points on July 15th, 16th, and 17th, with increasing radar signatures across that period of time, and then, of course, complete silence in the aftermath of the shootdown. Russia has a very interesting question. What was the Kiev junta doing with anti-aircraft missile systems in that region, given a couple of things? One, the rebels don't have any aircraft. And second of all, the systems were very close to the front line, meaning that the rebels could have taken over those systems if there had been some sort of a setback militarily. Those are dangerous systems to have in the hands of people if you yourself are flying aircraft, which the Kiev military actually is. So it's a very interesting fluid development, but I got to tell you right now, the evidence that I'm seeing, the United States has yet to provide any solid evidence on who was actually involved. So let's follow this. Very interestingly, in the immediate aftermath of the shootdown, the first thing that the United States government did was say this was done by the separatists. It was done on purpose. Putin is to blame. Blood on his hands. That just yesterday got backed off to, well, an unofficial source leaked to a couple of news outlets that from somewhere in the U.S. intelligence community that the new thinking is that perhaps it was an accident and that Putin wasn't to blame. And today, on Wednesday, we just got our third leak, which goes even further than that, where there was speculation reported in the Los Angeles Times, again by an unnamed source inside the U.S. intelligence community, that is now, the current thinking is that potentially it was a Ukrainian defector. The only way I can read this, a Ukrainian defector that actually might have fired this missile, which tells me that somebody's got a picture somewhere that shows people in Ukrainian uniform firing a missile. That's my best guess at this point in time. And so the easiest, best explanation, given everything that's been levied against Putin, against the separatists, would be to say, well, that must have been a defector, and he was still, or she was still doing it on the behalf of the separatists. So the story is very fluid, very murky. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of solid evidence to go on. More is coming out all the time. So that's a very interesting development. It still didn't stop the United States today from levying additional sanctions against Putin and against Russia. This is interesting because Europe pretty much denied that they were going to go forward with any additional sanctions. They declined to put any additional sanctions on Russia, which only makes sense. I mean, when you get a lot of your energy from a country that you want to, you're not going to put sanctions on them very easily and without a lot of evidence. And at this point, if the evidence that the United States is sharing with our allies is as good as what they're sharing with me and with you, it's not evidence at this point in time. So it obviously didn't pass the European bar. And so it's still obviously a very fluid situation. Driving me nuts. I don't know what the game here is. There's some game being played, and I don't quite get the dimensions of it yet. But I'm going to continue to look for that. As well, on the site today, we also loaded a new two-parter piece by Charles Hughes Smith looking at the shifting nature of work and what kind of things that you or your loved ones or your children might be thinking about as work for the future. Things that you either can start doing or steer towards that can align what you do with your skills, with your passions, with the demands and needs of the future. Very interesting piece, going to be a great discussion around that at the site. So if you join us there for that, we'll be following all of these developments and more.